Well, hey, howdy, hey. This is part 3 of this section, whatever, where we are looking at how do we add in objects, change their properties. We've done that in part 1. Part 2 was using events with custom procedures. So we wrote these procedures ourselves and then we attached them to events so that we could have things like when the form activates, it's hidden, and then when I type something in, then it shows up there, and when I hover over there, it shows us that. Okay, all great, all fine, all well, going just so lovely. I'm going to clean up just a little bit of this, and I'm going to remove this hover message because I know it is going to get super annoying. So that is on this rich text over there, on mouse enter, get rid of that. Yeah, just so that we won't have that along the way. Okay, so if we want to do mathematical calculations, we actually need to import that library first. So you could see this in a bunch of different ways. What we've got over here, these are all libraries. So this is all code that other people have written, which they've brought in here. We're importing it in here so that we can use it. And generally what we'll do is we'll make sure that it says use math as well, because you might have a program that doesn't use any math that you can see, or any of these functions that you want to use. In that case, you wouldn't need to import it because it would just take up space in your program that you don't want to use. You may also see it somewhere different, like over here. You might see something like that. No, that's all the wrong syntax, but you might see it there as well, as long as you see that you are able to use it. So it'll be uses over here or another use section down there. Now we have access to all sorts of mathematical equations and parts and things. So let's set this up. I'm going to move this just a little bit out of the way. We won't delete that. I'm going to get in a edit over here. This will be for one number, and then let's just get in another number. So edit one over here. I'm just going to do right click, quick edit, edit num1, and we're not going to have any text inside of it. And then this one over here, quick edit. No, I said this one. Why will you not let me choose? There we go. No, thank you. Quick edits, so edit num2. Okay, cool. And then let's just get rid of the text in there. So now we have got these two objects in there as well. And what we want is another button. Button over here. And then let's just call it calculate button. Button calc. Okay. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of math, and we'll use this to start it off. Okay, probably should have it saying something here. Calculate. I like how that looks. Calculate. Okay. So what we want to have then, I'm going to show you why it doesn't work at first, and then we'll go to getting it to work. So I've double-clicked that. It created a new procedure on this, that when I click that button, it does something. And what I want to have is I want it to add our two numbers. So edit num1 dot, is it text? Yeah, text, plus edit num2 dot text. Okay. And we want to put this somewhere, so let's get a label so that it'll show us the result. Okay, so I'm just going to put this label over here. And quick edits, label, results, and caption. For now, I'm just going to put it as result. Okay, we'll change that as we go. Okay, so we've said when we click the button, we want label, and what did I call it? Results dot caption has the value of edit num1 text plus edit num2 text. Okay, so it's taking the text from those edit fields and it's adding them together. Let's see what happens when we do that. So I'm going to run it, and I'm going to put 4 in there and 3 in there, and I push calculate and we get 43. Why does that happen? Well, that is because we are using text over here. So this is all text at the moment, and what it's doing is it's concatenating. So it's squishing that text together. We don't want that to happen. We want these to be treated as numbers. So in order to do that, we need to do some type conversion. There are going to be cleaner ways of doing this. In fact, what you will probably see more often than not is that a bunch of variables are created, like num1 is of type, well, let's just do both of these as real numbers. Num1 and num2 are variables, and they are real numbers. Okay, so then we would say something like num1 has the value of edit num1.text, which should give us an error if it hasn't picked it up just yet. Yeah, there we go. Incompatible types, real and caption. Okay. Yeah, so that's the caption there. It's saying that this cannot be a string. We've said that this is a real number. We can't treat it as a string, but what we can do is we can change it from a string to float. Okay, so that is a built-in function. Make sure I got my syntax all in the right place. String to float. So now that's taking the string that's inside there and it is changing it to a a float. So there we go, num1 plus edit num2 text. So let's do it because we are going on this path now. Let's do it anyway. We'll do string to float edit num2.text. Okay, and then we'll say plus num2. So what we did over here, what's your problem? Okay, cool. So we're getting an error over here, and let's see if you can figure out why it happened. So we've said in here num1 and num2 are both real numbers. So they're numbers that have decimal points, and they have that level of accuracy. And we have said that num1 is a conversion of the text that is inside our edit1, and num2, same thing for edit2. And now label results caption num1 plus num2, but it's saying it doesn't know what to do with that. So we could do this in a few ways. I'm going to show you two ways that we could do it. One is we could create another variable, call it result, for example, result, and then we could say num1 plus num2, num1 plus num2. And then what we do in here is we say we want it to just show the result, but we can't show it a real number because the caption requires a string. Okay, so that's why it's saying incompatible types over here, string and real number. So we need to convert this number to a string. So to do that, we're going to go float to str, float to string. And that's going to change our result over here from a number, a real number, to a string. Let's have a look if that works so far, if I've made a complete mess of it. Let's try that again. 4 and 3, we push calculate, and that gives us 7. Great. Calculate, sorry, not calculate, calculate. Okay, cool. So that is showing us that over there, which is great. So the way that I've set this up now is that I've put these variables over here and not over here. So this is the scope. It is scoped these variables to over here to this procedure and nowhere else. So if I try to, in my, what is it called, a rich text display, if I tried to access num1 and num2, I would get an error. So if I try to say red display name dot lines dot add, and I tried to put in result over here, it would say it doesn't exist. It doesn't know about it at all. Undeclared identifier. But if I took these, you can see there I pushed Control X to cut. You're going to be using that a lot. And then I put it over there. Let me just get rid of this var. Now all of a sudden we have that over there. But once again, we have squiggly line. Why? Incompatible types, string and real. So if we did want to show the result over there, then we would need to, once again, convert float to str. Okay, which we're not going to do over here. I just wanted to show you that scope of it. So now it is in a global scope. If I put it in a procedure, then it has a local scope. Okay, so then it would just belong to that, not to everything. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that for now. And so what that has shown us is converting types. We're able to convert from a float to a string, string to integer, integer to string, and all those around. That's not really using too much of our math just yet. But what I'm going to do over here now is let's do some calculations in here. The ones that we're going to specifically look at, I'm using some comments over here. We're going to be looking at square. We're going to be looking at square, what is it? Square root. So square root. We're going to be looking at truncation. We're going to be looking at round and round 2. And we're going to be looking at frac. So we'll be looking at all of those functions over there. Let's have a look how we might do some math in here. So say we've got an equation. We're not going to put these in our own edit fields or anything like that. We're just going to hard code the numbers into here. So let's create a variable or two, and let's just call this one our calculation, and we're just going to say it's also a real number. So let's have calculation have the value calculation. This one I am actually going to spell right. So we assign it the value of a calculation. And this calculation is going to run like normal math. If you think of BODMAS, order of operations, brackets of divide, multiply, add, subtract, it's going to do it in that order. So for example, if I had a calculation over here, 23 plus 3, and we said times 3, okay, then it's going to run that. It'll do this calculation first in the brackets. My mouse just gave up on me. Oh, there we go. So it'll do 23 plus 3 first, and then it'll times that result by 3. Okay, all very exciting. Let's just get this showing up as well in our rich display. So red display, name dot lines, add, and then if we try to just put calculation in here, then do you think that'll work? No, it would not. Why? Because it is a real number and we need a string. So we want to do float to string of calculation. Pay very careful attention to your brackets. That can throw you off a whole lot. So we've got add, and inside add we've got float to string, and inside float to string we've got calculation. So we should have 2 brackets at the end over there. Let's just quickly see what that does and how we are doing with it. Okay, I'm just going to put blah, 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 off. And there it's then our calculation. Okay, 78 is the result of that apparently. Okay, now we have a whole bunch of different math functions. In fact, we're going to look at random as well because it's a pretty fun one. Let's use random right now. Random is a math function, and I put in an integer over here. So somewhere between 0 and 100. This function is just going to choose a number between 0 and 100 for us. Let's just see what that looks like. And if I got all that syntax right, so each time I click that, can you see we've got a different number for it. It chooses a random. So that's where math functions come in. They do common mathematical functions nice and quickly. Let's say I wanted to get the square of 4. Now I could do 4 times 4, but of course if I needed this to happen a lot, or I didn't know the initial value, then I could say square 4, and then that will give us the expected output of, what's the square of 4, do you know? I hope so, 16. Okay, so that'll show it, and of course that's going to be the same each and every time. But we are able to add this into our equation. So if we had something like 32 plus square root of, the square of 4, well, we can very much use that. You see, that's still working, it's still valid. And then we could say that to be times the square root of 9. Or should we do one that we know? Well, let's do 25. Doesn't really matter too much. We're not going to see it in there, but square root of 25. So the square root of 25 is, oh, I pushed F5 rather than F9. Square root of 25 is 5. Yeah, well, there you go. Okay, so let's just check. 240 is the end result. So that is 32 plus square 4, and then that times square root of 25, which is 5. That's what give us that result. Okay, some other functions that we that you might see popping up somewhere. I hope that you know where. One is truncate. Let's see what trunc does. So it says that it takes in as an argument a real number. So let's put in a real number, 29.637, for example. Okay, let's see what this gives us. F9, run it again. And I'm just going to push show name. It gives us 29. So what did truncate do? That's it. It effectively took the real number and truncated it and made it into an integer. So it ignored that, everything by the decimal point, and it made it into an integer 29. That's what truncate does. Okay, so that's trunc function. Then if we had a number that we needed to round up, so let's say we had a number like 24. So we've got the function round, which at the moment is going to be, actually, let me give it as a 24.56. And let's just see what that does. If I just tell it to round, gives us 25. So it is rounded it up to the nearest integer. But what if we wanted to round to a specific point, decimal point, or kind of character point? We can use the function round to. Now this is one that you may not have seen pop up in your notes altogether too much. It takes 2 arguments, and from here we can say exactly where and how much we want this to round. So for example, if I wanted it to round it to 2 places, let's see what 2 does. That gives us 0. So that will be, I think that's on the hundreds. And if we did it at -1, did I do an actual minus? Yes. Okay, good. Let's see what -1 does. I don't know if I saved it too quickly over there. 24.6. So that's rounded it up over there. So to round it to the nearest 10, if I'm right here. Oh no, 10 would probably be 1, huh? Let's have a look. So that should give us 20, yeah. So that's rounded down to 20. So that's where we can say round to the nearest one. We can use round to. Okay, there are going to be lots of other mathematical functions that you encounter and that you use along the way. Last one to look at for now is going to be Frac. So Frac is a fraction function, and what it does is it's a nice quick way for us to see what decimal we have. What is the decimal that returns over there? So let's see, Frac of 24.56 would be something like 0.56. Okay, so that's how we are able to get that. We could have also, if we wanted to just get it as, we could have truncated it and then had, so if we did, let's say I'm just creating another variable, num1. Actually, I'm going to make it a real number as well, so why not just put it over here? Okay, and let's say that num1 has the value of 34.78, all of those, 879. Okay, so that is num1, and we said we want to work out what those decimal points are. So we could truncate num1. Okay, it's truncation of num1. And then we could say minus num1. And let's see if I've got that in the right order, and let's see what that does. So that should leave us with only what's left over there. Okay, minus O. So I just had it the wrong way around. But yeah, that sort of theory. So that's one way that we could do it. So num1 minus the truncation of that. Yeah, there we go. Because then it'll be what's left over from that decimal point. So 0.878, and then we could round that and make sure that we've got it because it is a real number. So that's just going to continue for very, very long. And let's quickly look at just one more thing that might pop up while you are doing maths. It's a component that we haven't looked at. I believe it's called a TSpinEdit. TSpinEdit looks something like this. And what this does is it has, instead of text, it has a value. Okay, so let's quickly call it TSpinEdit num. I'm just going to call it num1. I know we've used that a whole lot, but the value of whatever's in there is going to be stored in that. So if we, for example, wanted to assign it to the value of num1, so let's just say the calculation is going to be the, and so we want to find the square of num1. Okay, and let's assign the value of, said, num1 dot value to that over there. Okay, so now num1, our variable over here, is going to have whichever value we put in said num1, and it'll take that value and it'll show us the calculation. Remember, we want to convert that over there, show the calculation for that, and we want to square what that is. I know this is a bit of a longer way of doing it. Oh, it didn't save, so it's probably not going to have that. Let me just quickly close, do that again. And let's choose a number, and then we, what was it under show name? There we go, 4. And if we increase that, that should be 16. And there we go. Okay, hi, we go. Okay, cool. So that is a whole lot. Make sure that you go through each of these, that you check them out, that you look how you are doing calculations along the way, how you are able to use -2, you're able to use 5 divided by 3. Okay, so that's an integer division. Otherwise, you'll use divide like that. Okay, we used times, and you can also use mod 2, which gives you the remainder of these two divided by each other. A lot of mathematical equations in there. Okay, so this should help you with term 2 kind of stuff. Shout if you got any questions along the way. Remember, try to make your own thing with this, even if you are duplicating this and just giving it different values and obviously making it look a little bit better than this. But that's it from me for now, and thanks and goodbye.